Is this working? Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Victoria.
And I'm Carlina.
We're super thrilled to have you join us today. Welcome to our three amazing writers, Ayize, Jama-Everett, Jan Beatty, and Allison Hedge. For those of you joining us on Crowdcast, welcome. We will be introducing each writer before their reading. Please stay tuned for the live Q&A following the readings. Ayize Jama-Everett was born in Harlem, New York. He has traveled extensively in Northern Africa, Northern California, and Oaxaca, Mexico. He holds 3 master's degrees, divinity, psychology, and creative writing, and has worked as a bookseller, professor, and therapist. He has a firm desire to create stories that people want to read. He believes the narratives of our times dictate future realities. He's invested in working subversive notions like family of choice, striving when not chosen to survive, and irrational optimism into his creations. 4 of his books in the Liminal series have been published by Small Beer Press. The last in his series, Heroes of an Unknown World, will be released in February. He's published a graphic novel with noted artist John Jennings entitled The Box of Bones with Rosarium Publishing, and has forthcoming a graphic novel adaptation of The Count of Monte Cristo from Abrams Press, out in April. Shorter works can be found in The Believer, LA Review of Books, and Race Bader. He's also producing a documentary on the role of Black people in the psychedelic movement entitled A Table of Our Own. He teaches at Star King School for the Ministry and Western Colorado College. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Okay, I didn't know if the mic was on or not. Hi, everybody on the internet. Wasn't mentioned that one of those masters came from UCR's writing program, so very excited and happy to be back here reading. Thank you for giving me this chance. I'm going to be reading from Heroes of an Unknown World, which just came out this week. I'm going to spoil it by reading from the end. And to indicate my age, I'm going to take my glasses off as I read. What you need to know about this is there are all different types of people who have joined together to fight against the impossible, and it doesn't look like they're going to win. And so they do the only thing that people who struggle against the impossible can do. They throw a party. So the main character's name is Taggart. This is from his perspective. And this is that last party before the end of the world. Gilead, Indonesia. Taggart. I'm feeling half myself when Miko starts his set. Naturally, he sets a Gil Scott-Heron spoken word track over some Congolese drumming, hitting at 140 beats per minute. It's loud enough to wake that sleeping thing in my chest, my liminal skill. It's soulful enough to pull Samantha and a crew of followers she's managed to attract. That's enough rhythm in it for the Bint al Nas to hum, click their tongues, stomp, and dance to Gil's voice. Has enough pain to even draw a chabi. All of us, we liminals, wind spirits, mana worshippers, the lucky, the reborn death dealers, shine clad in gossamer armor provided by my beastie girl. Looking out on the dance floor filled with wounded warriors armed with split spears, cursed pistols and swords and jagged souls. I could feel sorry for any other enemy, but not the altars. Long months ago, I stood on another shore with men and women not from this world. Miko tells the crowd with the same cadence and tempo as the Bint al Nas. He's always on beat. We called ourselves the Clan of the Gray Rainbow, and our goal was simple: to liberate this world from those that would drag it into the forever shadows. Athika starts a war cry, half celebratory yodeling that the Bint al Nas take on en masse. Then Prentice, Tamara, and Pasha. Soon the whole crowd of decimation dummies howls with them. We've lost allies along the way. Without it sounding prefab, Mika was able to add a drawing electric blues to the soundscape. I've lost friends, But I've regained a family I thought lost, allies I thought that would be against me forever, and collaborators I'd never imagined. Prentice sends a flock of birds and more butterflies than I've ever seen over the amphitheater to accent the message. The howling before can't match the stomping and cheering that overtakes us now. I feel it in my drawn-out soul. If you dance, if you sing, if you allow yourself to love everyone here, now, I promise you, even if you fall, you will not fall alone. The Bental Nas slam their spears down in unison, making me think, you will not fall alone, is a saying of theirs. It's in their stomping, their streaked tears of joy. I know these women will be there till the end. When Prentice and Tamara join in the cheering, an unbidden tightness grabs my groin and my stomach. But this is their fight, their world as much as it is mine. More so, in fact. I'm not so lost in my thoughts about my girls that I don't notice Miko handing me the microphone. It's only when Tam mouths the words, say something, that I realize all eyes are on me. Off guard and off point, I defer to honesty. We're not all gonna make it. Nobody flinches. We won't all get out of this alive. I won't be able to heal all of you. Hell, I may not be able to heal myself. The dark shadow of hell is bringing its full torturous weight down on this little island, and if we fail, if we lose, then humanity as a concept is over. I see the girls shaking their heads at me. But the rest of this crew, they aren't backing down. Their backs are stiff. Even the lucky boy. It's enough to make me want to give them hope. DJ Japuba over there took out their head honcho. My daughter over there in the crowd turned one of them into a quivering mass. My other kid took out their main liminal support. Shabi right there, she destroyed another. You know, now that I think about it, right here, we probably have more ultra killers than have ever been assembled in one place. Everyone smiles at that one. Look, the odds are stacked against us, but if we win, if just one of us is standing at the end of this battle, well shit. And that means that you were part of the crew that looked entropy in the face, took all it had to give and said, fuck off. The crowd goes nuts. The shouts of fuck off shake the foundation of the building. Tell the darkness, fuck off. Tell the despair, fuck off. Tell your fears, fuck off. You beat us, but we'll never quit. Some of you don't know this, but what happens here is being broadcast across all the Decimation Islands. Already people are turning away from the chaos and towards us. East Africa is already liberated. If you've ever wondered what your impact on the world would be, this is it, people. Miko echoes my last words with his equipment so you can hear this is it in my voice long after I leave the stage. You'd think the sentiment would be lost in the repetition, but that's Miko's skill, to infect every moment with meaning. Soon everyone is laughing, sweating, dancing, and crying, all at the same time. Thank you.
Wow, that was a lovely reading. Thank you so much, Ayize. Next, we have Allison Hedgecoke. Allison Adele Hedgecoke's recent honors include a 2022-2023 UC Mellon Dean's Professorship, California Arts Council Legacy Artistic Fellowship, AWP George Garrett Award, induction into the Texas Institute of Letters, Daniel and Maggie Inoue Distinguished Chair in Democratic Ideals at the University of Hawaii, Fulbright in Montenegro, First Jade Female Poetry Festival, SWE, China, Excellent Foreign Poet, U.S. Library of Congress, Witter Bynner Fellow. Hedgecoke has edited 10 anthologies, written a play and a memoir, and written and directed 25 short films. Look at This Blue, published by Coffee House Press in 2022, which is also a National Book Award finalist, is Allison's 7th book of poetry and is her love letter and call to accountability to California. Thank you.
Is mic on? Everybody can hear? Okay. I want to give a shout out to both Carlina and Victoria and to Tom, who's hosting, and to everybody behind the scenes here. And thank you to the audience for being here with us today. It means a lot. So thank you for sharing this space with us. Look at this blue. Irx's blue butterfly from the sand dunes of San Francisco, the first known American butterfly to become extinct due to humans, first known. Redwood burls cut like blisters shaved from trunks kill giants in knobby growth removals. Baseline canopy height bud tissue, unsprouted genetic code for clone of parent tree emergence. A barrel was at my mouth, ready cocked, held there by my baby brother's bared grip. Lemon wedge moon popped over that consumed shallow, over sweet sound, low rustle, and lodi water. Chortle trill, night language from standing cranes, sandhills, they've been here all along. Standing still knee-deep in station pools, Orion hovering eastward drawn and readied. Someone slink past the door jamb, each chokehold failed vaporance, cognizance. In a world fast shaking herself loose from diabolical torrent, rising throttle song above throttle breath, choked out between calligraphies, madness, clenched fury, unfurled release, misery met, and each pummeled break. It's not over. Sleep in despair, sleep moth-tongued, unrolled against your central incisors, human-throated, deep yearns for saxophone, trachea, windpipe. Sandhills chortle, the only saving grace on wetlands marshaled. There's nothing here on Guardian Watch. Riverside, reaching back for the slip skateboard. He was hit so hard he flew while braking. A crow above whose wings were sunning swooped at the same time the car careened to halt on Martin Luther King Road, near Boardwell Park, east side, where the speed limit suddenly increases while approaching two close crosswalks to homes from Stratton Community Center, Boardwell, Emerson Elementary, east side, black, brown, kids, and elders. Anyone can see. Someone once worked this out. It's all going to burn, says the man accused of setting the holy fire. First, the puma and Santa Paula palm branch, then coyotes, fox, rabbits appeared. The birds over plume. Then the entire yard became a carpet of undulating fleas, so thick wrapping bread bags around our feet and ankles barely made it passable. Everything escaping heat from the fire-stormed arson. 120,000 acres, blanket fired, Los Padres National Forest and more, choking like the child they found still hung there. Sleep in the dream of bettering world. Sleep in the dream, nightmare woken. What we carry howls boggling. Her cheek contorts in flame, unfanned yet fanning. She eclipses all asunder, all broken. A scar-face vision in temporal melt. Somewhere on my left face, you can still see where it was sewn back on. On the right, the line across the eyelid where it was sewn back. On the abdomen, the line where it was sewn back, and somewhere on my right hand where it was sewn. All the heres and theres were sewn, the biopsies, labia removals, explorations, assaults, all sewn. 1985, 1996, 2000, what we carry weeps wet-haired. Her cheek contorts when sprayed by the guard, and from the first time she attempted, her neck ached. Meanwhile, here, a third body is found in the Baldwin Hills fire. There are still more missing. Arson again. Someone is out there. Look at this blue, Palo Verdes blue from the Palo Verdes Peninsula, one of the best claims to being the world's rarest butterfly, first thought extinct by development, rediscovered by Rick Rogers. The newly returned lays eggs on deerweed. Notice the patterning on the underside of her wing. Remember along the way the murdered sow bear, her cubs taken for claws. We're all just symptoms of something massive, faster over. They're killing us, weaponizing nature, sanctifying arms, each trigger flexed hand. Dad, in his 80s, was up on the trailer roof, a sprayer in hand, fighting back the ignition, not leaving until everyone leaves, he said. or the time he battled out of being rolled, just smoothly turned his cane horizontal, asking the punks who should join him when he dies soon enough, until they scrambled across the Kmart parking lot. Trigger turned to my face, every right to bear bitter. Every night scheme, daybreak flash. There is no need to fictionalize this dude. He is what he is, what man made. Slice labia squamous for some time mid-20s, the missing children and women taken somewhere. For me, it was a gully, a pond, a vase, a man, a hall, a window. Broken branch and canopy, trees like fingers, like the stiff blade through my right hand, the bone separating the knuckles, like gills tearing muscle, bearing my keen weight, or E. coli, some salad in a back aisle, an invader like the sky, too idiotic to merit note, past his criminal code when pressing limits, cruelties, as a method of stopping poems so they could not escape, no matter the musescape. Santa Ana's, floods, frost on the orange grove, all that counted elsewise. Was any snowfall on Topa Topa? Something was lost on the death wish facade, on him calling himself man. The ghost knocks pounded behind my head on the wall when he tried to stay there. Enigma, can we still use this? Maybe we are. I am. But not in the way that Lopez would call me bruja when the plantanger split, the oranges flew unaided, or the chairs bobbed like mergansers and quakes. Northridge was maybe our wildest. We had met. A pipe bomb, some believed at the time, and still no one questioned. We were thrilled by the variance, by her shaking us loose. Behind us was Liminaria, a town of a camp. Now some suburbia development, but then all sorts of workers, growers since 1893. Rancho Cespi, Floriacantos, La Lucha we would go, Santa Paula, Fillmore, Piru, Oxnard Strawberries, Santa Coy Records, Ventura Gold Beaches, like hot peppers shouldering Blood Alley, Ventura Freeway, or Leander's, Eucalyptus, Rhododendron. We were children in the camps, not these, but I also served these children. Decades ago, when Olive Land's girl wrote, "My eyes are the green of August," I still see her eyes, her August now. Condors replenish. A phoenix half-grown chick survives the Big Sur fire, matures, fathers an egg with the redwood queen, whose initial mate is lost to the Dolan fire. All phoenix rise, blue-green egg until a milky, Milky Way split, opened up in some hollowed redwood, on cave floor dust, cliff edge. Once my hand gleamed a plume from cliff edge, something called to me to reach in and feel it. Fingers raked, pulled from pit, what remnant left there, left there. Let love lead. Let hand that pummels rest. Let scowl rest, let face relieve. Let shoulders locked high, tight, recede. Let feet cracked, worn, ease. Let back stiff, sore, bend open. Let lungs swell breath like ocean. Let all of us, let all of us, let all of us be unbroken. Take heart, earth feels every tremble, touch, fills each footstep, listens now. Bring her justice, protection, peace. Look at this blue, mutant blue coyotes. Chance mutation, baby blues and 9 coyotes suggest a proliferation. They're silvery brown backed with icy blue eyes and antenna ears turning satellite-like, hearing voles, Santa Cruz, Sacramento, Point Reyes. The apex predators, mostly wolves, mountain lions, were once killed by humans, but here they're thriving and hunting. The blue-eyed chance mutation, tenderloin mornings. Someone took a shot at me before 9 a.m. and it's been 2 days since neighbors shot over me, lying over you, protecting you. Since travelers' aid allowed me to get here to take cover. At least your father can't kill me now. This passing car is mad at the world. Taking pot shots has poor aim or doesn't mean to score. Just trying to get some juice. Keep hydrated. My sister, she's still awake from her night shift, watching you for the first time for 10 minutes while I cross-hide, then Turk, grab a box of juice, piece of bread, head back unscathed. We passed by an old man someone brought from a reservation and left here on the street. No one knows his name. My sister says he'll accept a sandwich and juice, so I go back in and grab him one too. Today it's orange. Here's a heel. Someone from St. Vincent's brought him a cane. He looks maybe blind or cataracted. I wish his name was known. Wish we knew his home to get him back with his people. Morning seems so high above. The buildings block out any rise, and the whole thing seems to spin cardinal points opposite directions. So north is south, peninsula living, Yalamu, Ramaitash, Aloni, my sister learns at state. She works late shift, printing news, looking for a bachelor's in native studies. Takes her about 11 years to complete. Me, I'm scrambling just to hydrate, acclimate. And the year Tom Petty wailed, I said, you don't have to live like a refugee. Score before care, not cash. San Francisco labeled me indigent, didn't offer me a home, just rent to my sister. In a few weeks, you'll have red measles, not move for days, dehydrate, will nearly leave. From me standing in line at St. Vincent's with you wrapped tightly in the sling alongside for food, for medicine, for things we don't keep. The stream of morning over your face when you recover. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison, for that reading. Jan Beatty's seventh book, American Bastard 2021, won the Red Hen Nonfiction Award. The Body Wars 2020 was published by the University of Pittsburgh Press, and a new chapbook, Sky Dog 2022, was just released by Lefty Blondie Press. In the New York Times, Naomi Shihab Nye said, Jan Beatty's new poems in the Body Wars shimmer with luminous connection, travel a big life, and grand map of encounters. Beatty worked as a waitress, abortion counselor, and in maximum security prisons. For years, she directed creative writing and the Mad Women in the Attic workshops at Carlow University.
Thank you. The sound okay? Okay. So I'm really happy to be here at Writers Week, and I want to thank the amazing Tom Lutz and the fabulous Allison Adele Hedge Cook for bringing me here, and everyone who helped put this wonderful program together, and especially Victoria and Carolina today. I'm honored to be the D. Charles Whitney reader, and although I didn't know him, it's clear from reading and talking with people that he was not only a beloved emeritus professor here in creative writing at UC Riverside, but also he was an emeritus professor of communication studies in the Northwestern University School of Communication. But there's so much more, and I can't really do him justice, but I would say that he was a writer, an editor, a man of engagement who was student-centered, and he went above and beyond. He had a legendary sense of humor, and which sounded really fun, and was brilliant but self-effacing, which is always a nice combination. And he brought a great humanity to others. That was clear. And he's one of those people who, after you talked with him or worked with him, you felt better. And we all know how valuable that is. So I'm thinking of D. Charles Whitney today, and I'm grateful to read to you today. And if you want to come up afterwards, I have a cool picture of him right here. And you can even tell from his photo that he was a cool guy. So Here we go here. So I'm going to start. I'm going to read from American Bastard, which is my memoir, and it focuses on adoption. I was born in a place called Rosalia Asylum and Maternity Hospital in the Hill District of Pittsburgh, and it was a place where women would go to have their babies and then leave the babies there, and then it became, also function as an orphanage. So I was there the first year of my life, at least. I don't have all the really clear details, but I was in the asylum, which, if you know me, makes a lot of sense. But so my real name I found out when I was 32 years old, and my real name I don't like. It's Patrice. Okay, if you know me, I'm not a Patrice, all right? And Patrice Steiger was my real name, so I'm just sticking with Jan Beatty, and I'm going to start with this dedication to the book. This is for the lost ones who never knew where they came from. This is against the ones who pretended the loss never happened. When I was young, I was a comet with an unending, shimmering tail, and I flew over the brokenness below that was my life. I didn't know until I was 12 that we carry other bodies inside us, not babies, but bodies of blood that speak to us in plutonic languages of pith and serum. I'll read a short section called Red Dress, and this begins with a quote by the amazing Wanda Coleman, who was, I guess, informally the poet laureate of LA for many years. This is Wanda Coleman. I stole it back because it was mine from the get-go. All shook up, a rumble mama burped, and there I was. Take these rhythms as evidence, my splendid rock and roll. Some of this necessarily has some imagination because this is about being in the asylum after the tearing and rolling. After the tearing and rolling, you're an infant somewhere in a crib, in a room full of cribs. Someone is taking care of you. You don't know who. Who's the person who picks you up? Is it a woman? Is it a nun? There's no story in sight, no same loving face, blood of my blood face. The smells, the feel of the rolling and tearing are gone. Gone where? No face who has your face, no way of knowing who is who. What hands are these? Why are they different every time? There is no bonding taking place. The story is fractured here and forever after. Then strangers come to gaze at you, touch you, wonder about you. They decide to pluck you out of there and make you theirs. These strangers will take your name away and hide it. The government will cooperate. It will take months and months for this baby trade to be completed, a baby in exchange for money. Meanwhile, someone is feeding you. Is it a kind person? What do they smell like? You will never know these hands again. You will be taken to a strange place. People will start calling you the lucky one, the chosen baby. No one sees that your story is gone, that you're being handed off like a football. From now on, everyone will pretend that your first story never existed. They will act and want you to act as if you are one of them. Their blood, their faces, their world. You know that to survive, you will have to do this. You will have to pass. But your new mother has dark hair and brown eyes. Your father has dark hair. Their noses are not like yours. Your white blonde hair shines sickly like the odd light in a bad painting. Later, you look at your cousins. They have beautiful long eyelashes, all of them the same. You value how others resemble others. You long for it. In first grade, you refuse to make a family tree. Your parents and teacher suggest you make one based on your new family. You refuse. So it took me a long time to find my birth mother, say about 10 years, and then she didn't want to meet me then. And this is, I mean, this whole thing, I mean, for me, is not about measuring sorrow. It's not about that. It's about, can we maybe think about this a little differently? So this is the first meeting. I'll read part of this. I wear the red dress. Okay, so you know it's a long time ago, so I'm wearing dresses, all right. I wear the red dress. I drive downtown for the meeting. I'm too afraid to go in. After 2 years, my birth mother has decided to meet with me after seeing an Oprah show on adoption. Why does Oprah wield more power than a flesh and blood daughter? I call my friend Paul, who works at the welfare office in the state office building, and he meets me at a bar in Market Square. It's morning, but we drink 2 shots of cheap whiskey each, and he walks me over to the investment building to meet my birth mother. I'm an alcoholic in recovery for approximately 27 years now. It seems crazy that I would go into that meeting after drinking, but at the same time, it seems, of course, I would have a drink first. That was what I did. I meet the social worker who leads me to this closed room. She says, "You have 40 minutes." I walk in and my birth mother has on a blue cotton V-neck dress. It may seem strange to focus on this. At the time, I worked as a waitress, didn't have much money. I owned 2 dresses, a red one and a blue one. I decide to wear the red one to this meeting, and my birth mother is wearing the blue one. This is not about the merely instinctual. This is a book about what happened. It's not as though it's a common dress. A dark blue cotton jersey with a V-neck and a thin tan string belt. There it is. On her body, the body that I used to live in, apparently. Apparently, because all of this is shocking more than strange. It's mind-bending, like the ground is sky and the sky is ground. I don't know how to describe it. I walk in, she jumps up and hugs me, and the hug is the real and unreal mixing somehow. It feels good, but I want to run. I want to get her off of me, because who is she, and where has she been? We sit on basic chairs a few feet apart in this square room in this office building and start to try to speak about our lives. She is sobbing hysterically, deep ongoing sobs, and saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." It's a shocking and disturbing sight, this woman who I've never seen except at birth, sitting before me crying. She has short dyed blonde hair, light blue eyes. While she sobs, I am studying her to see if this is someone finally, someone I might look like. The resemblance is there, it's not overwhelming, but her coloring, her fair skin and bone structure seem to have some similarity to mine. Well, actually, mine to hers. You might think it cold and strange that I'm studying her in detail while she's crying. This woman who supposedly is my mother, but the body and blood is everything. Not knowing if there's another person out there who has your blood, who looks like you. That's everything to an adopted child. I was 32 years old when I met my birth mother, but at this first meeting and still today, I'm the adopted child with a couple pieces of information. You might imagine, you might want to make it a magical, beautiful meeting between mother and daughter. If so, you would be projecting some cultural story onto the event. I didn't know this woman who I longed to meet and find. I had some questions. So here I am, sitting across from her, the real and unreal colliding, holes in the air where something alive, something real might come through. 40 minutes. I feel bad for her, but I want her to stop crying. I think this might be the only time I see her. I need to know where I came from. I want the story. How did I get here? How did it happen? Why did she give me away? And the big question, who is my father? I want answers. She starts to talk, and the questions she has are disturbing to me. Did you have a good life? I think, of course I didn't. You gave me away. What are you talking about? I'm just starting my life. What is a good life anyway? I'm suicidal. I struggle to stay alive. Would you call that good? I say, I guess. I mean, it's hard to say. She says, did you do well in school? What is she talking about? Why are we talking about this? I don't care how I did in school. And I'm 32 years old. Who cares about this? Obviously, she does. I say, yeah, I got a degree in social work. I'm a waitress now, though. She says, oh, that's wonderful. I'm thinking, what's wonderful about it? We're here in this jacked up room and you're my fucking mother and you're not going to get down to it. I don't want to talk about this shit with you. Do you have a boyfriend? She says, that's it. I'm the shell-shocked adoptee and want to like her and her to like me, but that's it. Yes, I have a boyfriend, but what does that have to do with anything, I say. She draws back, still crying. She says, I just want to know that you have a good life. I know, I say, but I need to know what happened. What happened? She says, where I came from, who my father is, I say. She starts sobbing uncontrollably and grabs my arm hard. You have to promise me that you won't look for him, she says. He's not a nice man. More holes in the air, how to get to something alive, something real. This woman, my mother, who I've never met, grabbing me, asking me to promise something so large, it's too much. She hasn't given me any information. She kept hold of my arm, her voice getting louder. You have to promise me you won't look for him. I promise, I say. I know that I'm lying. I want her to stop. I don't want to lie, but I want her to stop. This is supposed to be about real. This is supposed to be about truth. The time is running down. I say to myself, I'll look for him and I'll find him. Okay. It's running out of time here. So I did meet my birth father once, and I found out after a bunch of years that it sounds like a movie. Maybe it'll be a movie, but it's that he was a Canadian hockey player, a professional hockey player who won 3 Stanley Cups with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He played for the Boston Bruins, New York Rangers, and the Pittsburgh Hornets. So let's see. Just read a couple things here. Okay, so I knew that he had become a golf pro after he stopped being a hockey player. So I'll start here. Something large had been broken in me all my life. I decided to meet my birth father. I decided that the best way was to ambush him. I knew that he worked at the International Golf Club in Bolton, Massachusetts, outside of Boston. My instincts told me if I called, he wouldn't be inviting me over. Armed with 2 of my birth mother's pictures, one about an inch square with the right arm of her husband in a suit, the other a black and white from the 50s that she had given me, her in a fake cashmere sweater and a skirt, looking so young. I took off. I had called the golf club to make sure my birth father was working the next day. The plan to walk into the pro shop, ask for Bill as Nicky, that was his name. When he came out, I would ask him if I could talk with him for a minute outside. I was counting on the cultural stereotype that he would be willing to talk to a younger woman. The day we drove to Bolton, it was storming with sheets of rain. We pulled into the parking lot and I wasn't sure I could go in. It seemed impossible. What was I doing? I ran through the rain to the pro shop. Is Bill as Nicky here? I asked. Yes, he is. Can I say who's asking? Friend, I said. I wanted to run. Would he talk with me? A few minutes later, he came into the shop. He was about 5'10", a slim man, not a huge, hulking hockey player. The pro shop man motioned to me, and Bill walked over. Can I help you? He said. He had a warm smile, a strong face. I liked him already. Yeah, I was wondering if I could talk with you outside for a minute. Sure, he said. We walked into the parking lot. I led him about 20 yards from the store, still afraid that he might walk away. He followed willingly, no hesitation. I like that about him too. I stopped, and by now he was looking at me in a very curious way. Do you know a woman named Dorothy Steiger? I said. No, I don't think so, he said. Why, what is this about? He said. Did you play for the Pittsburgh Hornets in 1951? Yes, he said. Well, I said very carefully, I think you might be my father. He looked stunned. He kept eye contact with me, but it was like he was looking at me, but not seeing anything. He was very calm. Why do you think this? He said. This meant a lot to me because he didn't say, that's impossible, or you're out of your mind, etc. I pulled out the young photo of my birth mother and showed it to him. Do you remember her? I said. He looked at it for a while. No, he said, I don't. I must have looked disappointed. I was shocked that he didn't remember her. I was a professional hockey player, he said. There were a lot of women. I know, I said. I'm sorry, he said. Why do you think I'm the father? She told me it was you. She said it was only one night, I said. I was feeling crushed. I didn't realize until that moment that I thought he would remember everything. Now what? Okay, if you want to know more, you have to buy the book. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allison, Jan, and Ayize for your readings. We want to make sure in the Q&A that you all get a chance to talk to each other and to our audience. And audience, please submit your questions in the Q&A, not the chat. This allows everyone to vote for questions they'd like to hear answered. We'll try to get to as many as possible. To get us started, I'll ask our writers, what calls you to write?
Oh, me? Calls me to write. If I can avoid it, I will. If I can find another narrative, if I can find another story that somebody's told better, I'll read it, I'll watch it, I'll do it all. But there are these stories that keep coming up in my head. There are these ways that I process being in the world that require me to transmute reality into something that, if it isn't entertaining, at least it's fascinating. And so, yeah, that's why I write. If when I'm not working on something, my life doesn't go as well. I don't feel as comfortable in my own skin. So even if it never comes out, even if no one else ever looks at it, I gotta have something that I'm processing.
It all depends. It really just all depends on the project, on the work. I mean, sometimes because you're ticked at something, sometimes because you have an at stake value in something and you're engaged with it, and other times because you're writing as a compulsion, as an obsession. I have temporal lobe epilepsy and I have hypergraphia, and on occasion I move into something and can't quit till it's done, and I'm in the project until the project is finished. Yes, so it all depends on what it is that I'm writing at the time. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I always needed another place to be. Since I was, since I can remember. So that writing became a place to exist. And I still need that place. So I feel like, and I'm sure you know this, that, when you start writing, when I start writing, it's like going away, which I really like to do, is get the hell out of here and go somewhere else and be somewhere else and just go. It's like leaving town without leaving town, sort of. And that's what I want to do all the time. And I know I have to come back, but it's a life-saving thing. I mean, when I was, young and being adopted and not knowing who I was, you know, reading books became that's where I lived, and that's where I still live a lot of times, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, thank you for those very honest answers. There's something about connectivity of self that's invisible to everyone else but you. So it's like a magical but also dark place. Okay, the next question we have is, what does collaboration look like in your practice? And you can take that however you'd like.
Okay, I'll do it. It depends on the project, because I also work with musicians and visual artists and people in theatrical, and I've worked with dancers as well. So it depends on the project. But I think essentially, even though writing is a very singular, very individual process, everything that's affected you and everything you move through during the day that involves other is also part of that process. So in some way, the writing engages that and you're affected by that. I was mentioning today that there's a story about John Ashbery getting this great fellowship opportunity or Fulbright or something in Paris. And he went thinking, oh, I really enjoy this. It's a city of writing and I'll be great. And he got there and he couldn't write anything because he was a writer that sat in cafes in New York and overheard people talking and would get inspired and go in. He didn't understand French. So without that collaborative, scatter of vocables happening around him, he couldn't work. So he came back very disappointed. But for me, it changes depending on project again. Yeah.
Go ahead.
When I was a kid, I wrote a play, and my uncle, who was the smartest man that I knew, read the play. Well, I said, I wrote a play, and he's like, let me read it. And I said, no, I just wrote it for me. And he just looked at me like I was an absolute idiot. And he said, art is intercourse. It's not masturbation. And I was like, oh. And I was like 12, so I was a little, I don't know what either one of those things are, but okay.
Okay.
But
That's funny.
I think there's this like in this text, I totally agree. It's like, it depends on the project. Like I met Richard Price one time, Clockers, a bunch of great other novels, The Whites, one of my favorites of his. And he's also written for television, written movies, and he was doing a reading, and I gave him a book of mine that just came out, and he looked at it. He's like, I don't care what anybody says. The best feeling in the world is when your novel comes out. He's like, everything else is a negotiation with other people. He's like, TV, movies, whatever. He's like, you're constantly negotiating. He's like, the novel is yours. It's all you. That's what you stand for. And I agree with him. And there's so many references in my writing, usually music, a lot of times food, stealing lines from other people. I'm always writing down other people's. I've stolen from these two already. Like there's always some sort of interaction that's going on in there. I also do comic books, graphic novels, and that's a complete and total collaborative effort that, I don't know what the page will actually look like until my artist gives it back to me, right? So I have this idea of what the page is, but I don't know what it's going to be. And when it comes back, oh my God, it's like more motivation for me. So Collaboration, I think in the US, we've kind of done ourselves a disservice with this, rugged individual. I am my own freaking island. I do things for myself by myself because I'm so amazing and cool. We all, for whom the bell tolls, right? No one is an island unto themselves, right? Like we all rely on each other for damn near everything. So I think once you can accept that and figure out the role that other collaborators, other people, other music, other things play in the creative process for yourself, then you start doing some really fun stuff, really some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, I like what you guys are saying. Yeah, I feel like everything is a collaboration. Like even as a kid, when I would be hiding in the trees, or that made me sound really strange. But when I was hiding in the attic, even stranger. But but I felt like I was, working with what I've heard, working with other people's stories, working with what I'm reading. Everything is a collaboration, and I need, I need people, and I need the words of other people, and that's the only way it can work, I think, for me. And there's always a conversation, whether it's in your head, whether it's in my head, or whether it's imagined, or whether it's from the past, or whether it's dreams, or whether it's real. Well, it's hard to say what's real, but whether it just happened the day before. So I think that that's always happening. Even if I think I might have written something myself, I haven't. I mean, I just believe in all kinds of forces. I have notes already from today, stealing from you guys, and so there's no. I don't think there's any beautiful thing without us working together, and that's the only way, I think, to do this. So I'm very clear that I can't do things alone. I've tried that. That doesn't work. So.
I have a quick add in because it just occurred to me, depending on the project, again, everything's depending on project. Sometimes you need a sounding board, you have to hash out things, even if you're just hearing yourself say it to somebody else and figuring it out that way. And sometimes they give you back good advice, so sometimes sounding boards are really important. Workshop in its perfect sense is that, you're getting back some feedback and such. But in life in general, and even when I'm in my obsessive compulsive hypergraphia, which I do get into, I'll get fixated on something. Like I mathematically encoded a verse play fit to the mound site I was writing about, and then I drove everyone nuts going, does it sound okay like this or this or this? And I would have five versions of prosody. And they're like, okay, enough. And I go, no, it's not right yet. So there's also that exchange sense. And I am a writer who can be alone for a very long period of time and work independently, and I'm not necessarily attracted to company at times. So it can be that, but there's other times where I really need that interplay and hearing back. Even a reading, showing up at a reading and trying out a new piece, see how people respond, that sometimes will tell me if I'm on the right track.
But even when you're alone, don't you think you have company?
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I'm with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat about process, specifically geared towards Allison, but I think we can obviously expand this to the group about the writing process that generated Look at This Blue.
Yeah.
But I would be interested to know, with regards to your latest work or any work that you want to talk about, what your process is like.
I'll go first and then come in. Okay, so it has been said, I have admitted it. I wrote the book in a weekend because I was in one of my things I go into. And it needed to be done, and I couldn't quit until it was done. And when that happens, when it occurs to me, this is necessary, whether I'm doing painting or whatever, I just move into it and I literally just unfold and let it happen as long as it happens. And I'm a person that thinks in music first, not in image first, which is atypical for a writer, but that's me. And so usually I have like a lot of accompaniment going on. And so I'm also following what's happening. And in this particular case, it was very improvisational jazz orchestration. And so it allowed me to follow, solos here and there, movements here and there, and departures and returns. And there's a varying refrain and such. And move through it as long as it took to do the composition. And when it was done, I knew it was done. And I took a break, So that's one kind of process for me, but it's not the only kind. Yeah, but for Look at This Blue, that was a process. So, yeah. Okay.
But Allison, don't you think that, okay, maybe you wrote this down in a weekend, but it's years and years and years and years of stuff in here
Yeah.
that came out in a
Yeah.
weekend, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it dates back some of the knowing that unfolded in the book dates back as far as 1980. So there's bits and pieces of things throughout that time, off and on. Yes.
Would you say that you called that up, or that it just came, or would you say that, I mean, all those years just poured out of you? I mean, can you say how that?
I just literally unfolded and let it happen and followed it. Yeah. So at the same time, I had 3 devices open. And so one of them I was unfolding into and working. And meanwhile, realizing, because it also deals with the law of extermination and things that are happening in our state and people who have been killed and all these things. And so at the same time, I'm going, okay, what do they know now that they didn't know then? And so I have another device that I'm researching in at the same time, cross-checking myself. And then I have another device in case something else comes up that's out of project. So, okay, here's the distraction, here's this happening. So there's 3 devices going, but the whole time I'm writing, I'm also researching. And so it's happening at the same time. So there's that sort of cross thread that's going on. But literally for me, the music is the impulse first, and that takes me to what it is I need to let go of. And then following that until it's composed, and then I'm done when that happens. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I want to say, yes, I called it up and have all that agency about it. But for me, it's more like I hear music and I know where it's taking me and I'm going with it. So it's more like that. And I'm compelled by it and obsessed with it until I feel like it's done. And then I can relax.
Okay.
I'm weird, Jen.
I know
I'm
that,
weird.
but
I am.
If you say you hear music, are you talking about the music of the language, or are you talking about you're hearing music?
Yeah, I hear music all the time.
Okay.
I hear music like all the time. I always have.
Okay.
I used to work as a songwriter because it was an easy thing for me because I could do play sessions, do back for people and stuff because the music was there and I would know they're playing this and I'm like, okay, I got something for that, but I'm a very weird person and I'm aware of that. So at home, my kids and grandkids all say we live in a musical because I like belted out stuff all day or playing some kind of whatever is laying around, but I just live in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
I
Yeah, I didn't know you. But you talk about you though. You're too much for me.
Well, no.
Easy.
So, I mean, actually, this is kind of relevant because I learned this at Riverside. So I'm like in media res, like get it started, like just go, like just like a train, just don't stop, just right. And I was fortunate enough to take a class with a guy named Tom Lutz. and he allowed me to interview a writer named Victor Laval. Victor Laval is an absolutely amazing writer and totally hit it off. And in talking to Victor Laval, I was reading, he wrote a book called The Changeling, and I love that book. And I was like, it's so fascinating, it's so amazing. And the first 150 pages, I'm like, what is happening? Not in a bad way, but just like, I'm not sure what this is. And talking to Victor, he's like, and Victor had read my work, which I was like, holy snap. And he was like, yeah, he's like, I feel where you're at and it's great. And he's like, for me, it's okay. I'm realizing it's okay to take time. It's okay to slow it down and to let it, like, it's a trust with your reader that your reader's going to follow you. And so you don't have to get to it in the first 20 pages, right? Which is kind of sort of pop fiction kind of like mandate. And I do a lot of I do genre fiction. So he's like, if there's a grace, if there's an understanding with your reader, that like, let them trust you. Like, give them the narrative, but let them trust that like what you're building is something that's relevant and important. And it bled over into process for me, because it gave me the permission to tell the truth. And the truth is, I don't know what I'm doing when I first start writing. Mm-hmm. And I think like a lot of times, especially for like up and coming writers, there's this thing of like, well, I'm going to write a serious social commentary on the meaning of the letter L, as in the 15th century. It's like, you know what the hell you're doing, right? You're experimenting, you're playing, you're exploring. It's a novel. There's something new in it. So what's the new? In order to know the new, you have to know the old. So what old are you coming from and what new are you giving? Can you give it that space? And so like the next thing that I wrote, which I also wrote here at UC Riverside, I really gave myself, my characters, my plot, the time to just kind of ease out a little bit. So it's not as taut. It's not as linear. It's more expansive. It's more flowing. It's a little easier on the reader and on myself. So,
yeah, nice. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you tick, do that. It's really different for everybody. And so whatever process is helping you get the work out, stick with that. And if it's not working for you, shake it up a bit, do something else, Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. With the time we have left, we have one more question. So what advice do you have for emerging writers?
Well, the biggest thing is don't quit.
Yeah.
That's really the biggest thing. No matter what happens, just don't quit. That's really because so many people, I was teaching for 30 years. So many people I've taught who were amazing writers are not writing anymore. People who I went to school with, undergrad and grad school, aren't writing anymore. There's no secret except just don't quit. That's it. That's the whole thing. Just keep doing it, no matter what happens. You haven't gotten published for a while, well, keep going. You don't have any money, keep going. Your life sucks, keep going. Whatever it is, just keep going. That's the only secret. And then things will happen. I promise you. You can come back to me and talk to me about it. But that's it. That's the secret. So.
Can I piggyback on that?
Say what?
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah, please.
Because I used to I was like, a writer writes, if whatever happens, like you keep writing, no matter what. And then I can't even said it one time, like your mom dies, you write. We're human, right? And I think there's a difference between quitting and resting, right? And I feel like there's been this like old school sort of mentality of like, if you're not writing, then you're not a writer. And I'm like, maybe I've been taking a lot of psychedelics lately. Things have looked a little different. It's okay. I think it's okay to like breathe. Right? I think it's okay to like write a sentence. Right? I think it's okay to like, read what you've written. I think it's okay to like play with the writing. I don't know if like that like, train sort of like always be like always be selling sort of thing works for everyone, right? We got people losing their jobs, we got people getting COVID, we got people having, major life changes, and sometimes like you don't get to the writing that day or that week or that month, and I think you're still a writer.
Yeah, I hope I wasn't sounding like that.
No, I think I used to sound like that, not you.
Yeah, yeah. I remember one of my teachers asking me one time, many years ago, "Are you writing?" And I said, "No, I've been sending things out." And she said, "Well, that's part of writing." I said, "Oh, okay." Okay, then I'm writing, yes. Everything is part of writing. That's the other part, is like walking down the street and listening is part of writing. Taking some notes is part of writing. Reading is part of writing. And you might have to take a year off, but you're still writing. You have to be good to yourself above all. And, I'm not into punishing any kind of self-punishment at all. Well, I don't know about that. But that could be a lie. But the thing is, yeah, of course, be kind to yourself and don't quit.
Yeah, I just want to add in too, to surround yourself with people and things and places that help you do what you need to do. And if it's not helping, it's not helping you, So along with taking care of yourself, get yourself in a place you can work and do the things that you want to do, how the things that you want to say on the page, Yeah, thank you.
Ayize, did you want to add something? Or
I was gonna say is like anything that helps you write, that's really good advice. Anything that gets in your way of writing, that's bad advice.
Yeah.
So don't just like whatever it takes to help you get something on the page, do that. And like somebody's like, well, you got to spend 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night. Like, shut up. Like if you can't do it, you can't do it. Like fuck. Like, but like if it's like a candy bar in the morning helps you to write, get a stack of candy bars. You know what I mean? Like whatever helps you get it done. Rely on that and all because all the writing advice that's here now is for a publishing industry that existed then, and we don't know what's coming next. We don't know where next. You may be the next great big writer, and your method is deep water plunges every 20 minutes. I don't know, right? Go do the thing that helps you do the thing.
Yeah, and if you're involved with someone who doesn't support your writing, get rid of them.
I think
There's like 3 people who have worked in counseling on this table. True.
with that, thank you so much, Allison and Ayize. Yeah, let's another round of applause. And thank you to Cassidy on Crowdcast for your presence today as ASL interpreter. To everyone here in person and to folks at home, we hope you've enjoyed your time with us today. As you know, our goal is to keep Writers Week 100% free to attend, and we couldn't do that without the generosity of our donors. If you got something of value out of today's session and would like to make a gift to show your gratitude, you can do so by clicking on the button at the bottom of your screen. If you're at home, if you're in person, I don't know. But yeah.
Webpage, look at the webpage.
Thank you. Yes, gifts of all sizes are appreciated, and everything given will help to support our next Writers Week Festival. And for those of you who are here in person, you can buy our writers' books right outside this room. And if you're at home, the links to their works were circulating throughout the session, and you can find them online as well. And finally, thank you to the audience for joining us today, and we hope to see you at next year's Writers Week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.